Hello, folks. This is Jacob Harkey. It is February 8th, 2024, and I am currently in the Great Park right outside of the Stanley Mosque Courthouse. I was just in the Stanley Mosque Courthouse for a hearing in the Jane Doe v. Religious Technology Center case. And as a quick recap of what that case is about, Jane Doe is an ex-Scientologist, an ex-Sea Org member who was brought into the Sea Org as a child, and her lawsuit alleges that she was essayed by her Sea Org recruiter, Gavin Potter, and then forced into a marriage with him. I'm really interested to see how that lawsuit continues to play out. However, today's hearing was about the very specific issue of whether or not David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, the chairman of the board Religious Technology Center, has been adequately served. And the judge indicated to counsel for both the plaintiffs and the defendants that he had issued a tentative ruling, and he asked the counsel for both sides to indicate how they would like to respond to the tentative ruling. Uh, Jeffrey Riffer was in court as the attorney for David Miscavige, and he indicated that he was going to submit on the ruling. Now, I will be honest, I have not carefully read the tentative ruling that the judge issued, and even if I did, I don't know that I have enough legal expertise to really be able to make sense of all of it. But considering the fact that David Miscavige's attorney indicated that he wanted to submit on the ruling and was not looking to make further arguments against the judge's ruling, it sounds like the judge was ruling in the way that Miscavige would have liked, meaning that David Miscavige's attorney submitted a motion to quash the service of summons, and ultimately the judge did grant that ruling. Based on the way that he spoke, the judge, it sounds like he mentioned a couple of times that these disputes over whether or not service has been adequately completed are a big waste of time and money, and they're not really going to make us much progress in terms of resolving this case or resolving disputes. But we did get to hear some good arguments from Carmen Scott. Carmen Scott was the attorney who was in court today, present for Jane Doe. And some of what she mentioned as far as the issues that she wanted to take up with the tentative ruling, she mentioned that the court should reconsider the service that was performed at 5930 Franklin Avenue, or Celebrity Center. So essentially, if you've paid attention to reporting on the case that's been done by folks like Tony Ortega and Aaron Smith-Levin, you may have seen that the plaintiff's attorneys have submitted evidence that there have been attempts to serve David Miscavige at numerous Scientology locations. And Celebrity Center on 5930 Franklin Avenue is just one of the locations where service for David Miscavige was attempted. And Carmen Scott, when she was making her verbal arguments to the court, essentially stated that Celebrity Center has a Religious Technology Center office, and David Miscavige is the chairman of the board of the Religious Technology Center. So this RTC office that's at Celebrity Center should not just be viewed as a place where folks meet. It's widely advertised on rtc.org as an office for RTC, or at least it was until recently. When the motion to quash was submitted, Carmen Scott indicated that it was just around that time that that RTC office was no longer being advertised on rtc.org. But the argument being made by Carmen Scott was that the service at that location should have been considered to be sufficient, and that David Miscavige should have been considered served following that attempt at service. Like I said, the judge did ultimately rule that he was going to move forward with adopt the tentative ruling that he had issued. And the way that he spoke about it, it really sounded like it was strictly because of a technicality. Now, there were a couple of cases that have set precedents on this issue in the past, as far as disputes over service that were cited by Carmen Scott when she was speaking. She referred to them as Gibble and Miller. And the specifics of those cases, I'm not familiar enough with to really comment on at this time, but that's certainly something that I can look some more into. But ultimately, defendant's counsel Jeffrey Riffer didn't really speak a whole lot today because after Miss Scott was finished making her arguments, the judge asked Mr. Riffer if he wanted to make any arguments, and he essentially said no. one of the only things that I did hear him say was what the judge wants is for the two attorneys to just talk after the hearing. After the hearing concluded today, he wanted the attorneys to talk and just work something out between them. Well, if you've paid attention to legal cases involving Scientology, and specifically cases where David Miscavige is named as a defendant, you know that he is likely to do anything and everything that he can do in order to keep himself out of the lawsuit and keep himself from being deposed or from having to appear in court. Um, so I, anyway, Mr. Riffer, he did indicate that he would be willing to speak with Miss Scott or to reconfer with her following the hearing, which the judge indicated that he appreciated, but I don't have a lot of confidence that he's likely to make this easy on the plaintiff's side in this case. Now, the other thing that did come up as far as a potential remedy was the idea of service by publication. And Miss Scott indicated that this was part of what she had submitted a request for, that she would like to potentially pursue service by publication, meaning that the service could be published in newspapers or whatever other publications are sufficient for service by publication. And the judge indicated that this is a potential remedy, but the judge in this case is actually not the officer who would have jurisdiction over whether or not that's going to be what moves forward. And he actually mentioned that he was surprised that, or he didn't know why this request had not been ruled on already. But in any case, it appears to me, based on how the hearing went today, that the subject of today's hearing was fairly limited in that it was specifically all about whether or not Miscavige has been served. It was specifically about addressing Miscavige's motion to quash service of summons. The judge ultimately did rule to uphold or to adopt the tentative ruling he had issued on that matter, and he recommends that the attorneys indicated that they would reconfer following the hearing to potentially work something out. And if they're not able to work something out, then it sounds like Jane Doe's legal team will be likely to be able to pursue service by publication as an alternative to being able to serve him in more traditional methods. So that's really the bulk of the update for today. I will definitely be back here next week. Next week, we have a few hearings. There's hearings next week in Leah Remini v. Scientology. Actually, that's on a very, very similar issue. If I'm not mistaken, it's February 14th, so Valentine's Day next week. This same subject, the motion to quash service of summons, is going to be heard in the Leah Remini v. Scientology case, so I'll definitely be back here for that. There's also going to be another hearing in the case that I was here today for. The Jane Doe v. Religious Technology Center will have another hearing a week from today. This is going to be about the motion to compel arbitration and whether or not this case is going to be successfully able to avoid the arbitration issue, or if the case is going to be forced into religious arbitration as past lawsuits against Scientology have been. And then the other case is Bixler v. Scientology. That's the case that the Danny Masterson survivors have filed against the church. And I'll definitely be curious to see what happens in all of those cases. So if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be Bixler will have a hearing on the 13th, Leah Remini will have a hearing on the 14th, and Jane Doe v. Religious Technology Center will have a hearing on the 16th. So I will definitely be back. I see that we've got Jane Gonzalez in the chat. Says, thank you for updating us. Of course. Thank you for being here, Jane. I was glad to see that some people have tuned in. I wasn't sure how many viewers I would have today, but I've got a good turnout. So thank you very much. Bev says, you're doing an awesome job. And Jacob, thank you. Of course, Bev. And thank you as well for being here. So those are the bulk of the updates for today. One other thing, for those of you who are living in the Los Angeles area or located relatively nearby, I will be playing some guitar and singing some songs tonight at Malones Irish Pub before Laura FM's birthday set. So Laura is going to go on at 9 o'clock tonight. I will be on at 8 o'clock. And if any of you happen to be available and want to come by to that, that would be a lot of fun to see you there. My link tree is in the description of this video, and there is a link to purchase tickets in the link tree there. So if you want to come on out, that would be a lot of fun. I would love to see fans. I would love to meet up with other people who have been following along with all of the stuff that we've been following along here with regards to Scientology. Bev sent some nice emojis. Who knows says thank you for doing this. Of course, yeah, no problem. I'm glad that people are tuning in to follow along. We got a loud helicopter flying above me right now. A couple of loud helicopters, it turns out. Jane Gonzalez says, I wish I could make it. No worries if you can't. There's no pressure. In the future, I'll probably try to send out some more information about this kind of stuff a little bit further in advance so that I'm not just letting people know about it the day of. But, NC says, thank you for the info. Of course. Thank you for being here. And without further ado, I may be chatting some more. I'll probably be rehearsing a bit with Laura in a little bit. Will we go live or do anything else fun? It's possible. I don't know quite yet. I'll have to see where this day takes me. But in the meantime, from the Great Park in Los Angeles outside the Stanley Mosque Courthouse, this is Jacob Harkey signing out. I'll see you next time.